when you're having a conversation, it's not decreed that a woman will necessarily take over the family business. The sons automatically used to, but now the women are doing it, I would imagine, because they have proven that they are perhaps smarter, a bit more tempered with money. Do you think that we still have to kind of tiptoe through the tulips, as it were?
Within the home setting?
Or work, home, office?
Well, I believe I don't see gender in the office.
Right.
And typically, I don't attend functions like this. Because it's gender focused, right?
Okay, do you think there's anything wrong with this?
To be honest with you, I mean, this is my first all-female event. I tend not to see gender, I see outcomes. And as such, you know, if I have a female that's very bright, very driven, very young, I mean, I probably have that conversation in my office right now. And they're more capable than the males. By all means, that's the person that we're going to be pushing. But when it comes, what I found is that when it comes to the home setting, sometimes, if you're a strong and dominant female, you're used to making decisions on the go, finding solutions, that's just your orientation. When you get into a husband-wife situation, there's sometimes a little bit of a pullback that may be necessary because you're so dominant a personality. So as an individual, to be honest with you, I love to lead. Why? Because it allows me to be creative.
I think, and that's interesting thought it, because if you look at how you were groomed in terms of money, when I was a child, I had very little money conversations with my parents. I mean, money talk was for the adults in the home. But now I find that with my children, money conversations are happening in their environment, not necessarily through me alone, but you hear the conversation. So I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I will hear my 10-year-old daughter say to the 4-year-old, "Oh, how much money do you have now?" He doesn't know money, so he's like, "I have a lot of money." And I'm rich because his savings plan has a lot of notes in it. And then she's like, "What are you going to do with your money?" And he's like, "I'm going to go to Fontana." And he's all excited. And she's like, "Why would you go to Fontana with your money? Put your money back." And you're going to save it. And she wants to save her money because she wants it to become a lot more money. He just wants to go and buy a toy at Fontana. But the conversations around money, when they start at such a young age, it does change a conversation when you're 25. I recall even students at UTech, they'll say, "Oh, Miss, you're from NCB, and so tell me how I can buy some stocks." And I'm like, "You have money?" And they say, "Yes, I have money," because after paying my school fee, I start saving and sacrificing and so on. And they want to do investing from that early age. In the past, I recall as a little girl, I used to see the older person, so your grandfather or your father used to be talking about, "Oh, I'm going to the bank," or "I'm going to invest." And not necessarily a 20-year-old or a 15-year-old, you know, but you're seeing that environment changing, and that's very, very instructive. And also, I'm hopeful because money management improves across generation, and I mean, Lamar is expert at, you know, talking about generational wealth, but we have moved as a society to start the conversation around not just money for food today, but money for you and money for your children, and leaving something so lives can be better generation to generation.
Because I don't think I have enough conversations in schools about money management or savings.
I don't think we have at all. Not at all.
Not at all. So when you leave high school, you really have no idea.
What, unless your parents
have no idea.
So it comes from
what
parents,
to do.
yes.
And then you just kind of learn over time. There's nobody sitting me down to say, "Okay, I think you should invest in this company." And I say, "What does that mean? What does it mean?" And even some children, they prefer to see money rather than say, "Let me invest money."
Correct.
Because it just means that my money is not here with me. What does it mean?
You have to show them the ticker going up and down. I do it with my niece and nephew. But
Yeah.
And every Friday,
Had to bring him in.
Would collect. Right.
And you know, like I was an overachiever. So I always wanted to do the one. So every week when I get my children, I put it back on my bank fiscal because I want to get to the one large the most money on Friday. So I don't know if there's something that still happens. I'll wait to get back early stage.
Okay.
There, having a conversation with our generation or our company about saving and investment.
Danielle, do you think we need to start these conversations earlier? For example, have you started with your 2 children?
Yeah, so I grew up in a similar household where we started conversation around money very early. So we talked about what the business did, you know, what bills had to get paid, how are they getting paid, and so with my 2, which are 6 and 8, that conversation is already started. So we talk about turning off the light, right? AC don't go on every night. I'm paying that and I'm not buying right? Exactly. So they did the balance and I said, okay, mommy, but then can we get 200 Robux at the end of the week? Let's see. Right now when you accumulate, what is 200 Robux? And it's about $1. So we have that conversation of what is $1? You know, it's 150 Jamaican dollars. What does that mean? How much money do you have to save over the week
to work
to
with,
buy
yes.
your Robux by the time you get to by the time you get to the end? And I find them to be very motivated to do the math and to figure out, okay, this is what you owe me. And we go through it, and I think it develops over stages, like, you know, kind of what Miriam was saying, where, you know, we get to the point where what is it that you're trying to buy, therefore, how much do you have to keep saving? And I'm very happy that we had that conversation from very early in my life as a family, because we also talked about, and I think we should talk about this in your articles as well. We talked about basic things and legal structures. So how do you own your home? You know, what are the decisions that you make around mortgages and that kind of stuff, and what does it mean to invest in one thing versus another? And what you find is that a lot of women tap out of the conversation when it comes into how do we structure the purchase of a business, investing in our business, right? Our collective business, who actually sits and owns, you know, the business or the share structure. We tend to be led, a lot of women tend to be led into how these things should be structured. And I think that earlier you can start having those conversations, so they can start developing a sense of independence and understanding of what is important in developing that business if you're going to go into it with other people, or in purchasing a house, or in purchasing a car.
An account.
Where is that opening an account?
Opening an account?
Those are conversations that I've always been very open with my family about, and very open with my husband and the children about, right? So that there's no kind of debate as to, so I don't want to lead every decision in the house. I want to be part of the discussion, right?
There you have it.
That topic is very
important.
touchable.
Yeah, because things might not end up
Oh, you think they will?
how they think. Well,
Who you marry is never who you divorce, as them say.
right. They have it.
So you always have to
Yeah.
have visibility.
Agreed. And Daniel, what I love too is teaching children about specific things, because even when I heard you speak, I thought of Claudette and teaching children about how credit cards work. My son, when he wants a Robux, he's like, Mommy, can I take your bank? Because I have to get the credit card. But understanding
That's
what
the
a credit
price you
card
pay.
is and how it works.
Exactly.
They do make these little cash registers for kids, and so both my children have one, and they keep putting the cash registers with credit cards in there. And so the child is exposed to a credit card, but really and truly, how does it work? There's not always money on a credit card. It's a credit card is also a loan. And so teaching children about credit cards as well is also something we can do.
very,
And keep
very
the
important.
conversation.
Remember a few years ago we did a program across some parents with financial literacy.
Yes, it was a
It
junior
was a
kids grade program.
It was a 6 weeks program. So
Yes.
we went to Whitfield Primary School, and we did grade 4 up. And I'm telling you, they were so hungry for the information, because I suppose nobody told them about money, about borrowing, and if you have to borrow, you have to pay it back. You know, that kind of thing. And just adding the simple things. They were so hungry for that information. And it was really well received. I think it's something that we really should look at again in terms of getting back into some of the primary schools.
Actually, there's a company I was involved in. Luncheon and myself started a company called Today's Money.
Today's Money.
And we started just for that reason. And that's because a lot of my lessons in financial management is life lessons. So really, I think the bulk of it is a QBE, in terms of being qualified from experience. One of the lessons I'll never forget is when I was with, again, Edward Gale. There was a client I had. He was Chinese, and the gentleman spoke with me probably for about 3 years until, and he would call each day and said to me, Claudette, what do you think I should buy? And I said, well, buy this particular stock. And he said, why? And then I'd have to go into the fine details of telling this gentleman why he should buy that particular stock. No, I may have gone to school, have my master's, have my security scores, have everything, every knowledge that I need to know to do my job. And here is this gentleman who, over the 3-year period, what he did was literally pick my brain. And I tell you, that gentleman became such an awesome stock investor. He made millions out of the market. And he will say to you, Claudette, I'm not as lucky as you, because when I was 14 years of age, he had to leave school, at primary school, and head on the shop floor to help his parents. So at 14, his formal training, it ended at age 40. But what that gentleman did was he simply learned how to pick knowledge. And once he picked the knowledge, he used it for his advantage. So much so, fast forward 20, 30 years, and if I happen to pass by and visit, the conversation now is, how is your Facebook stock doing? How is your Las Vegas Sands doing? Because he's trading on the New York Stock Exchange. And he's in his 80s, So he has gone on to, when the technology changed, learn the technology, and he has changed with it. And it has served him well. Because if you look at it, knowledge is only a compilation of information around a particular subject matter, right? And so he has just been, what would say, very street smart, and he has done it. So I have learned from that experience, no matter how humble the particular client is,
Don't get it twisted.
that client deserves the same value as the client with the bigger coat.
Absolutely.
And I can, and having been in the industry for almost going over 35, 36 years, the persons that I see doing the best are not usually the high earners, but it's the persons who make smart decisions with the little that they have, right? And so I've learned over the years, it's a matter of, for those who are not formally trained in the area, is to stop to learn, because managing money is like riding a bicycle. After you've done it a couple of times, you know exactly how to do it, right? And like anything else, the first couple of months or even a year might be a little intimidating, but the thing to do is keep at it. And then eventually you become an expert at it. And then you find that you start to do very, very well. So for me, the money management lessons have really come from life, from seeing my clients, working through various situations, those that do very well, and those that do not do so well. So it's very important, whether male or female, that we really pass on to the next generation the importance very early of money management, because it gives us independence, the capacity to make the right decisions. When things aren't working, we're not in a situation simply because the finances dictate it, but we're in there because we choose to. My daughter, I made sure I gave her a credit card, put her on my credit card very early. She was about 16, and gave her a limited. And then one day, she went somewhere and she called me, Mom, Mom, Mom. I said, what happened? The card declined, the card declined. I said, how come? Well, I spent. And I said, well, you spent up to your limit? She says, yes, Mom, I'm up to my limit, and the card declined. I said, well, tell you what, there's no money to be had. You know, and for me, that was a teaching moment.
Yes,
you have a budget. If it's $10,000 you get or $20,000,
It's finished, it's finished. Yep.
exactly. Live your reality. Don't try to live
So
above
they
your reality.
speak the truth. You
Yes.
didn't bridge. You didn't give her a bridge.
Yes.
You didn't give her a bridge.
No, you crazy? Carrie Klein, she said sorry. Come out the store and yeah. No, never did that again. She always checks before she goes spending. No, wasn't doing that. That would be a wrong lesson.
I love that.
Next month.
He made her put back the shoes. Claudia. He made her put back the
She
shoes.
got to the limit. That's the purpose of giving her the card so early. Yeah.
Let me ask
And she
them
called me
now.
panicking and I'm, Mom, you need to solve this now.
Claudia to the
Pass your
mom.
budget.
And Daniel, I mean, is there space therefore for generational conversations?
Most definitely.
Family, especially amongst
Most
family, based on what
definitely.
you've said, based on what Lamar has said, based on what Daniel said. But nobody's offering that, eh?
Well, we've actually been actively going, having conversations around generational wealth.
No, but
with the family.
with families.
Because we have an aging clientele. No, and this is how I could tell you that there's some transitions happening and it's not
Right.
necessarily gender-based.
Yes.
We're encouraging our clients to start including their children or whoever they choose into the conversations, because God forbid something ever
Yes.
happens to
Yes.
them,
Yes.
right? What does it mean you have a joint account? Yes, it automatically goes. No, it does not mean it's divided amongst all your children. So when you said that, it
Yes.
goes to whoever is on
It's
the
on
account.
the
Right.
Right? That's what joint.
Yep.
So there is that space, and there's even that space as we're learning at the 4 or 5-year-old level, right? I have a nephew who, I don't know how they learn these things so quickly, right? The iPhone, he says to his mother, give me your finger. And he buys
Oh
the
yes.
thing.
Oh yes, the
Right?
IDs. Oh yes.
She says, you now owe me $1. You have to give me back the dollar out to your allowance. He says, no, take it back. She can't take it back. She's like, no, you owe me $1. You think before you spend. So even then, I think,
That's interesting.
don't wait. Don't wait.
As early
Having
as
that
possible.
conversation, they know money. They might not know how much, as she said. They think you have a lot of money because you have a lot of coins in it, right? But they know that Roblox thing is a problem.
Yes.
If I'm getting called in Jamaica for Roblox, I know that Roblox thing is a problem. My niece.
Well, I think strongly of really getting the kids to understand the value and how you are able to mass money in order to do this and to do that. So what Brian and I came up with is that on summer holidays, nobody stays at home. So Gabrielle is either by his office or she's by my office. She's being salaried. With that being said, it goes straight to our NCB account.
In CBA.
And I can tell you this, the first couple of years that we started that with her, we started to lose coins around the house. Because she would walk and collect everybody. Brian would come home and leave some coins at the nightstand and she would just, and you start to see this bottle started. And at a point in time, she will empty out and she says, Mommy, I've counted out, this is what you're going to deposit for me. And she has maintained a FE account and her Jamaican dollar account. And that child has been going with those accounts. Hence, when she came to the office full time after she finished AISK, she She took a year instead of going into college, so she was full-time at the office. So it wasn't hard for her, for NCB to give her her first credit card. And I'm going to tell you what she learned from the credit card. She didn't like the interest rate. Yes, so
She used to pay it
and
off.
then
Time
she, I don't know what calculation she did, but she realized that
To work it out.
she said, "I'm making too much money." So no, she mostly, it must be a dire situation for her to go to her credit card if she don't know how she's going to pay
That's
it
right.
before the time.
That's right.
That's right.
And she will rely on her debit card to just go in and out. So I think it is good as we as women and as head of the household, I call myself head of the household, to interact the children into certain things in the business and let them understand how we propel along. It's not always easy, I can tell you that, but they will hear the ups and the downs and they will get a feel for it to know I thought she would have come on my side of the fence. She's now at USF doing architecture.
Oh, yes.
So she's over on daddy's side. A bit disappointed, but
Same thing with
Just a bit.
but in all said, I think that I've showed her who our mother is and what I am about and where I'm heading.
I'm a product of that.
And I hope that she would have learned from me, and whichever side of the fence, she would be as good as I am.
Lovely.
And as I can say, NCB back in my days didn't really come to my school, but it is something that they should look at in order to teach these kids. Although in my time to know, you can see the difference in how these kids are now reacting towards certain aspect of things. Gabrielle used to sell bow. She would ask somebody to buy bows when it coming on to champs time and sell like most them throw out immaculate. And I just said no. But she's always thinking of how she can save and maximize on what she has.
And you said something. I came from banking, right? So I was a management trainee with NCB. No disrespect, banking is boring, right?
When you hear some of the stories.
I spent 7 years.
Not with you telling the stories, Claudette.
But when I hopped off banking and went into the capital markets, I suddenly realized it was like a eye-opening experience. It's like, I'm originally from Hanover. My parents are entrepreneurial, but it was like night and day. Because I realized to make money, because remember, your core business is managing money for people, right? And you realize what makes person A make more money than person B. It's just information. That is it, Somebody is aware of, this is a good stock versus that is not a good stock, or this is a good investment opportunity versus. It is just information. And then I remember I went through a point where I take a lot of risk, right? So I bought an old house and I fixed it up quite well, whatever. And in fixing up renovating the house, I can recall I paid the workmen, one particular workman. At that time, it was in 2002, probably $300,000-400,000 a week in terms of to have the renovation done. But by next week, Wednesday, got paid on Friday. By next week, Wednesday, they need an advance for the pay on Friday. And then I realized, I said, listen, man, I don't want to sound it, this ought not to be recorded. but we must find a way to empower black men. And we cannot have, and it's not that they don't earn good money,
The management.
Some amount of money. It's a function of what they do with the money that they earn. So that they don't get into the mindset. And again, another story, I'm going to after this one. I had a